All right, so with the difference quotient, you have to remember that the formula that you're given, you are going to be plugging stuff into the formula from your given equation. So for this one, we had number 37. So we're given the equation f of x is equal to 3x plus 7. So this is the equation that we have, and we want to evaluate the difference quotient for this. So first of all, I need to remember what the difference quotient is. Who can tell me the formula? Eileen? Good. So remember we said that this is the formula for how we compute the difference quotient. And remember the difference quotient is basically finding the rate of change of any point on a curve or a graph that you have. So in this case, if instead of this formula we have right here, let's say that instead I decided to do f of 2 minus f of 3 all over h. Well, how would you evaluate this equation right here? What would you do? What's the first thing I could do? I would plug the numbers into the function for x because this is function notation, right? So I would first plug in 2 here, and I'd have 3 times 2 plus 7 minus, and then I'd have to do now 3 into x into my equation. So 3 times 3 plus 7, and this would all be subtracted, so I always put in an extra set of parentheses, divided by. Now, do I plug h into this equation here? No, why not? Because it's just a variable and doesn't have a function notation attached to it. So it's always going to just be over h. So it's the same idea with this equation that we have here. The only difference is instead of plugging in numbers, we're plugging in x plus h, and then we're subtracting it from f of x, the original function, all divided by h. So for this, the first thing that I would want to do is I'm going to take this and plug it in for h. So I have 3 parentheses plus 7. What goes inside the parentheses here? Good, x plus h. And then I'm going to subtract it from, and always when you're subtracting, put it in parentheses, otherwise you're going to forget to distribute that negative. So what goes on this side here then? So now minus f of x, so what's f of x? 3x plus 7, all divided by h, because remember h is just a variable, so it just goes in your equation, that's what we use. So now for this, the only next thing I need to do is just go ahead and simplify this by combining like terms and do anything I need to in the numerator. So we have 3x plus 3h plus 7 minus 3x minus 7, distributing that negative all over h. Notice that your 3x and your negative 3x cancels out, 7 and negative 7 cancels out, and you're left with 3h over h, which is just equal to 3. So that would be the rate of change for a point on my graph or curve that I have. Which makes sense because what kind of graph do we have for this? What kind of equation is this right here? It's a linear equation, and what is the slope of this equation? 3. So doesn't it make sense that our answer for the rate of change of any point on this curve would be 3? So kind of think of it like that, kind of a little bit of common sense there. So for number 41, instead of having a linear equation, now we have a radical equation. So for 41, we have the f of x is equal to the square root of x. So now we are plugging in the difference quotient, again, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, and then we're plugging it into this formula here. So this formula gets plugged in. So does anyone think they have the solution for this first one, or the second one, sorry? Anna? Good. So for this one, we're going to plug in x plus h first into our equation. So we have the square root of, I'm plugging in x plus h for x. So just like instead, if that was f of 2, I would plug in the square root. 2 for x would be the square root of 2 minus the original function. So minus the square root of x, and like I said, it's a good habit just to get into putting that second part in parentheses, all over h. So now for this, can I simplify anything here? Is x, the square root of x plus h minus the square root of x like terms? No, because they don't have the same thing underneath the radical. Therefore, there's nothing that I can simplify here. So my answer would just be the square root of x plus h minus the square root of x all divided by h.